Look, I know I said I would never make a Sonic on Game Gear video, but saying that gave me the idea, so that's what I'm gonna do today. US games only. Let's jump right into it. Let's start off with the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog, which was released in October of 1991 in North America. I'll bury the lead here. I actually kind of already started playing this game yesterday on the Master System. That's because I want to make a video about it, so I actually already have a little bit of familiarity with the level design in this game. And initially, the smaller screen wasn't the biggest deal. There was also a couple of hazards that I already knew about ahead of time that I had no problems with. There were also others that I just kind of forgot about, and it brought up the main issue that people have with these Game Gear games. The screen is too small, you just can't see in front of you. And considering how Sonic the Hedgehog on the Game Gear is a lot more of a traditional platformer, like yes, there are areas where you can go fast, but for the most part, it is much more similar to a Mario game than what we would now understand to be a Sonic game. And playing it like that and understanding that, the screen isn't that big of a deal, but then when your Sonic instincts kick in, yeah, no, it becomes a problem. Especially when there are times when you legitimately cannot see under you and you're just kind of making blind jumps. I was never a fan of that design philosophy. Sonic 1 8-bit is actually pretty fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I am going to beat it and I'm going to do a full review on it, or at least I plan to beat it and do a full review on it. But the Game Gear version, I just don't recommend after Green Hill. Like, Green Hill is fun. Past that, it's just not. I will say some nice things though. I do like the screen crunch for boss fights because it makes them an absolute cakewalk. On top of that, for a Game Gear title, the graphics look pretty good and I do like the soundtrack. It's pretty catchy. Sonic 1 8-bit is not bad. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Game Gear version. Moving on. Released a year later, just like the 16-bit version, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2. They already upped the presentation. You have an entire opening cutscene now. And you have the introduction of Tails, who gets kidnapped by Eggman and doesn't actually tag along for the adventure, even though the slides for the levels show him being there. Strange. Unlike Sonic 1 on the Game Gear, I just don't like this one at all. Even as early as the opening stage, you just don't know where you're going. And that frustrates me because the level design is actually even better than the original, and I thought the level design was overall pretty good for the first game, even though I still feel it's a little more Mario-esque than Sonic-esque. It was the first try, I'm not gonna throw a fit about it. But there are hidden pathways here. There actually is depth to the level design. I just don't like the gameplay. The screen crunch for this game in particular was so much worse. The only thing I could say is if you're gonna play the Game Gear Sonic games on the Game Gear or on a Game Gear emulator or anything like that, don't play it like a Sonic game. Take your time, go through it slowly. I'd imagine, like with the original, if I sat down and played for even longer, the game would get kind of better, but I'm also not the biggest fan of you having to memorize level designs in order to even engage with the game. Just not very good. Next up, released the next year in 1993, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Wait a minute. Sonic Chaos. It's called Sonic Chaos. It's funny, the Game Gear actually had essentially its own trilogy of Sonic games, or I guess quadrilogy, and they all came out back to back to back. Eggman's up to his old shenanigans, and it's up to Sonic and Tails to stop him. That's right, this time around you get to play as Tails. I didn't, because Sonic is cooler, but you can if you want to. I'm gonna be upfront, Sonic Chaos was a lot of fun. It's hard to describe because theoretically this game is very similar to Sonic 1 and 2. You have the floaty jump, every now and again the game feels like it's not reading your input, so you might not jump when you're trying to jump. The physics are wonky, there's a lot of slowdown, but despite all of that, Sonic Chaos just has so much better level design, and obviously the stages are really short, like average 30 to 60 seconds. And yeah, the game is very much easier than Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, so that could be a reason for it. I kind of just sailed through it. It took me a while before I actually started losing lives. But the game honestly is just a lot of fun. I sat down and I almost beat the game. I had to go ahead and save and stop so I can get back to making this video, but I might just sit down and beat the game and make a full review on it later. No promises, but I might. I actually had a lot of fun with it. The level design still rewards exploration. The special stages are kind of weird to get to. You gotta get 100 rings and then it brings you right to a special stage. One of them I just got a bunch of extra lives and a free Chaos Emerald. The other I had to platform for a Chaos Emerald and I kept messing up. That's on me. And the bosses range from being a complete cakewalk to kind of being annoying, not gonna lie. But despite all that, Sonic Chaos was a really fun experience. I actually would recommend this one. I know Sonic Chaos in other regions also got a Master System version, which obviously would give you a lot more screen real estate, but the version on the Game Gear never really made me feel like I didn't know where I was going, and the bottomless pit shenanigans didn't really start until what I assume is the final stage. And I guess overall it just feels like this game was actually built for the Game Gear as opposed to just being hastily ported over. Like I said, it's good. I can recommend it. Though it might just be good for a Game Gear game, I will have that asterisk there. Skip ahead another year and we got another 2D Sonic game for the Game Gear. This one being Sonic Triple Trouble, where Sonic has to deal with Knuckles, who's once again been manipulated, Fang the Sniper, and Dr. Robotnik. Hence the Triple Trouble. You can play as both Sonic and Tails this time around, and it's literally just the exact same as Sonic Chaos. I didn't quite enjoy it as much, nor did I spend as much time with this one, but it really just felt like playing Sonic Chaos again. So it can't be that bad. This is a game I do plan on getting a little more into when I actually play the fan remake, the Triple Trouble HD. But for right now, Sonic Triple Trouble is just more Sonic Chaos, and I liked Sonic Chaos. And taking a look at all four of the main 2D Sonic games on the Game Gear, I'd say they're all pretty decent. Sonic Chaos being the best among them, so Sonic Triple Trouble just being right next to it, with Sonic 1 being third place and Sonic 2 being right there in last. Not a big fan of that one. Moving on. Next up, released a couple of years later in 1996, we have the final traditional 2D Sonic game for the Game Gear, and it's a weird one, Sonic Blast. Weirdly enough, it takes the naming convention, the overall character design, and for some reason the character sprite from Sonic 3D Blast. But this one's a 2D side-scroller in a more traditional Sonic game, and you can also play as Knuckles for some reason. I'm not gonna complain, it's just weird it's the only 2D Sonic game that Knuckles is playable on the thing. In Sonic Blast, Sonic at least gets to double jump, which is cool, but because the Game Gear games seemingly have to have a monkey's paw, you also get the weirdest physics of any of these 2D Game Gear games. It's weird to describe, it's just not great to play, and Sonic seemingly loses momentum every 5 seconds. Oddly enough, over the years, I've probably spent the most time with Sonic Blast out of any of these 2D 8-bit games, which is weird because I never actually beat it. I know I've gotten pretty far before, but every single time I play, I kind of just stop because it's not very fun. It's not terrible, it's just fine, I guess. With the 5 quote-unquote real Sonic games out of the way, we got 5 spin-offs to talk about. I don't have a whole lot to say on any of these, so let's rapid fire it. Released in 1995, we have Sonic Labyrinth, what would you even call this? Dungeon crawler? Apparently, Eggman broke into Sonic's house, swapped out his speed shoes for slow shoes, and now Sonic has to go through multiple layers of this labyrinth, finding 3 keys at each stage to escape. It's a really dumb game. It's not as bad as everyone made it out to be when I was a kid watching all these different Sonic videos. Oh, it's one of the worst games ever made. I mean, it's not good. It's inoffensive. It's more so just boring than anything else. No speed, no platforming, no real jumping around. You just kind of roll around in a ball, kill enemies, and collect keys. It's fine. Next up, released in 1995, the sequel to a Japan-only game, Sonic Drift 2. I have an entire video on Sonic Drift just available on the channel if you really want my thoughts on Sonic Drift itself. It's not a great kart racer. I liked a lot of what the game could have been, but it just wasn't good. And my thoughts on the sequel are pretty much the exact same. While playing for that video, the AI was just so much more frustrating to deal with in Sonic Drift 2. However, gameplay-wise, it's pretty much the exact same game. It's just not great. I don't have a lot of fun with it or any real fun with it. At best, like at absolute best, it's okay. You know, it's something that could kill 5 minutes and nothing else, really. I mean, there are more tracks and more characters in the original, so there is something here. Look, play any other Sonic racing game. Next up, we have a Tails-centric spin-off. Technically, the Game Gear has 2, but we only got 1 in the US. That's Tails Adventure, or Adventures. You run around and throw bombs at people. I don't really know what's going on. I was never a big fan of this or Tails Sky Patrol. I don't know what you want from me. If you want your Tails 2D side-scrolling game where he blows up people, Sega got you covered. Lastly, we got a couple of 8-bit versions of 16-bit games, that being Sonic Spinball and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Sonic Spinball on the Game Gear is genuinely worse than the Genesis version in every single way possible, and I didn't even like that game to begin with. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is Puyo Puyo. Yeah, it looks worse than the 16-bit version, but honestly, it doesn't really play worse, it's just Puyo Puyo. And that is it for Sonic the Hedgehog games on the Game Gear. Overall, I actually had more fun than I thought I was going to. I found a couple of games that I had just kind of been ignoring over the years, and actually kind of are hidden gems, to an extent. Kind of. Growing up in the 90s, you would have been better off with a Game Boy, but honestly, a Game Gear wouldn't have been a bad option either. And there were plenty of Sonic games to choose from. Even if you only like 2D Sonic, there are 5 different games to choose from. And if you're not a big fan of 2D Sonic, you have 5 different spin-offs to choose from. Realistically, the Game Gear wasn't a bad system to play Sonic games on. GBA better, though.